Good morning, dear students. Today, let's learn English second lesson in this particular class. And third lesson, homesickness. It's written by Roald Dahl. Have you ever felt being homesick or a kind of sickness that you are away from your home? What is homesickness? This is a particular feeling that you are having or you are critically ill when you are away from your home and if you cannot adjust with the new situation, especially when you are at hostels or a place, a boarding school. You will feel that you want to come back to your home immediately, so you'll have a feeling of coming back to home. You feel that you have a stomach ache and you have to come back immediately and have contact with your family members so that you will be okay. And this sort of feeling is called homesickness. And here we'll see who is homesick or who has this feeling and what are the reasons for his sickness and what were the effects of the sickness. And it's written by Roald Dahl. He was a British writer of short stories, novels and poems. It's written on page number 20. He wrote about his boyhood years and early career in boy and going solo. Some of his most popular books are Matilda, Fantastic Mr. Fox and Charlie and Chocolate Factory. He was a well-known British author whose main interest was writing for the children. So he has written short stories for children. And I think that even though you haven't read much of the stories, at least Charlie and Chocolate Factory must be read by you. With this, let's come to the lesson. Page number 20. I was homesick during the whole of my first term at St. Peter's. Homesickness is a bit like seasickness. You don't know how awful it is till you get it. And when you do, it hits you right in the top of the stomach and you want to die. The only comfort is that both homesickness and seasickness are instantly curable. The first goes away the moment you walk out of the school grounds, and the second is forgotten as soon as the ship enters port. Okay, here he's telling his own experience. That means the narrator tells his own experience. This is the first person narrative story. That means I is describing the story, the particular I. And when did he feel this homesickness? When he was away from his home and when he was in the St. Peter's hostel. He happened to be in the St. Peter's hostel, and during the first term he felt this homesickness. That's what he is telling here. And he's telling that this homesickness is a bit like seasickness. What is seasickness? The meaning is given here. The feeling that you want to vomit because of the constant movement of the ship. Okay, when you travel in the ship, you will feel that you have to vomit. That sort of feeling is called seasickness. Once you are away from this travel, then you will be free. That's a sort of seasickness. He relates this homesickness with that of seasickness, and he tells that it is like that. You don't know how awful it is till you get it. Okay, that means once you experience it, you may not know till then what it is. And when you do, and when you feel the sickness, you won't understand till you get it. It hits you right in the top of the stomach and you want to die. The only thing that he knows is that you will have this feeling especially on your stomach or in your stomach, and you will feel that you are going to die out of the sickness. The only comfort is that both homesickness and seasickness are instantly curable. How he's telling here. The first goes away the moment you walk out of the school grounds, which is that homesickness. Okay, and the second is forgotten as soon as the ship enters the port. Second sickness, that is seasickness. It also is curable once you are away from the sea, or once you enter at the port. Okay. Let's continue with the second paragraph. I was so terribly homesick during my first 2 weeks that I set about making a plan for getting myself sent back home, even if it were for only a few days. My idea was that I should all of a sudden develop an attack of acute appendicitis. Okay, I was so terribly homesick during my first 2 weeks. Where was he? He was at St. Peter's, and he felt during the first weeks especially homesick. I set about making plan for getting myself sent back home, so that he was trying to go back home. So he thought that the authorities concerned will be sending him back home because he is sick, even if it were only for a few days. Okay, he's sure that he will be coming back. At least for some days he will be free. That's what he felt. My idea was that I should all of a sudden develop an attack of acute appendicitis. He felt that the next moment he is going to have a problem of appendicitis. You know the meaning of it. Some of you must have suffered it. After, if you get it very severely, there is only one way to avoid it. What is that? To operate. Okay. So let's continue. You will probably think it silly that a 9-year-old boy imagined that he could get away with a trick like that, but I had sound reason for trying it. Only a month before, my elder sister had actually had appendicitis, and for several days before her operation, I was able to observe her behavior at close quarters. I noticed that the thing she complained about most was a severe pain down in the lower right of her tummy. As well as this, she kept being sick and refused to eat and ran a temperature. And he already knows how or what is the consequence of appendicitis from his own sister. Okay, you will probably think it silly that a 9-year-old, how old was he when he felt this sort of disease? He was 9 years old. He imagined that he could get away means escape, with a trick like that, but I had sound reasons for trying it. Okay, why he tried for being, or how he pretended to be sick, to be suffering from appendicitis. Only a month before, my elder sister had actually had appendicitis. So he has seen his sister suffering from appendicitis 1 month ago. And for several days before her operation, I was able to observe her behavior at close quarters. What's the meaning of close quarters? From a short distance. Okay, and he observed her, how she was facing this disease when she underwent this disease. So he had a knowledge about the sickness and how the patient will be when he or she is undergoing this particular disease. I noticed that the thing she complained about most was a severe pain down in the lower right side of her tummy, and he saw that her sister was telling that she had a pain in the stomach, in the lower part at the right side of the stomach. As well as this, she kept being sick and refused to eat and ran a temperature. She could not eat anything and also ran a temperature, means she had high temperature. You might, by the way, be interested to know that the sister had her appendix removed, not in a fine hospital operating room full of bright lights and gowned nurses, but on our own nursery table at home by the local doctor and his anesthetist. In those days, it was fairly common practice for a doctor to arrive at your house with a bag of instruments, then drape a clean sheet over the most convenient table and get on with it. Okay. And he had witnessed the operation also. You might, by the way, be interested to know that the sister had her appendix removed not in a fine hospital operating room. Usually, the patient who are suffering from this appendicitis will be admitted in hospital and there will be a surgery. That is a normal practice. But here, the sister is not admitted in the hospital, but in a fine hospital, but she was just in a room where there was no bright lights nor the nurses. Gowned nurses means the dress of the nurses. But on our own nursery table at home by the local doctor and his anesthetist. These were the only two people when his sister was being operated. In those days, it was fairly common practice for a doctor to arrive at our house with a bag of instruments. Even though it is not common practice, the doctor arrived at his home and he has done the operation. Then drape a clean sheet over the most convenient table. And drape, that is just like a curtain. Okay. And get on with it. Get on means continue. On this occasion, I can remember lurking in the corridor outside the nursery while the operation was going on. My other sisters were with me, and we stood there spellbound, listening to the soft medical murmurs coming from behind the locked door and picturing the patient with her stomach sliced open. We could even smell the sickly fumes of ether filtering through the crack under the door. Okay. And even though they were not seeing it actually, they were just listening from outside the room what is happening inside. On this occasion, I can remember lurking in the corridor. What is the meaning of lurking? Waiting quietly and secretly, especially before doing something bad. Okay, what is the bad thing that they were doing? They were just trying to get what is happening inside. So they were just waiting outside the room and they were listening each and every movement and sound. And while the operation was going on, they listened what is happening inside from the conversation that they had. My other sisters were with me and we stood there spellbound. Okay, sisters were there, and spellbound means they were not speaking anything. They were fascinated to hear what is happening inside, listening to the soft medical murmurs. Soft medical murmurs means they will not be speaking much, only they will be speaking in low voice. They listen to it, and it was coming from the locked door and picturing the patient with her stomach sliced open. You know that if it is to be operated, it should be sliced. We could even smell the sickly fumes of ether. What is the meaning of sickly fumes of ether? Strong smell of ether. What is ether? That is a kind of gas used earlier as an anesthetic that made the speaker feel uncomfortable. Okay, so they could get the smell of this ether and through the crack under the door. And there will be crack means that just like when you close the door, if it's a smell, it will come out through the very narrow opening. The next day, we were allowed to inspect the appendix itself in a glass bottle. It was a longish, black, wormy looking thing, and I said, "Do I have one of those inside, Nanny?" Okay. And the next day, we were allowed to inspect the appendix. Appendix, that the meaning of appendix. That is just an addition. Okay, and they inspected the thing that the doctor had taken from the stomach of his daughter, and it was kept in a glass bottle. It was a longish, black, wormy looking thing. Wormy means it looked like a worm. And I said, "Do I have one of those inside, Nanny?" He asked his aunt Nanny whether he had something like that. "Everybody has one," Nanny answered. "What is for?" What is it for? I asked. And what is the use of this appendix in one's body? God works in his mysterious ways, she said, which was her stock reply whenever she did not know the answer. That means she said that she doesn't know. Actually, there was no much work for this appendix. This is only an addition. But if the waste like stones or something like plastics or something is there, it will be going to the appendix and it will be getting infected. What makes it go bad? I asked her. Toothbrush bristles. How it will become a disease, or how is it getting disease? That's what the question. And she said it is out of brush bristle. What is the meaning of bristle? That's a stiff hair. Once you use the toothbrush for long months, what will happen? It will become old, and it's that small stiff hair, it will be coming out directly, it will go to the stomach. This is what is happening, she answered, this time with no hesitation at all. That means she knew it. She was speaking as if she knew it. Toothbrush bristles? I cried. How can toothbrush bristles make your appendix go bad? How can it get bad? Or how will you get appendicitis out of this toothbrush? Nanny, who in my eyes was filled with more wisdom than Solomon, replied, whenever a bristle comes out of your toothbrush and you swallow it, it sticks in your appendix and turns it rotten. In the war, she went on, the German spies used to secretly send boxloads of loose bristled toothbrushes into our shops, and millions of our soldiers got appendicitis. Okay. Nanny, who stood in my eyes, was filled with more wisdom than Solomon. Who is the Solomon? He is a character in Bible, and he was known for wisdom. He was a king, and it is believed that he had much wisdom than any other man on earth. And this nanny is speaking as if she knew everything, as if Solomon knew all the things. Whenever a bristle comes out of your toothbrush, bristle okay, and you swallow it, it sticks in your appendix and turns it rotten. When it goes to the stomach, it will be going to the appendix, and once it is getting inside the appendix, it will be getting rotten. In the war, she went on, in the struggle, the German spies used to secretly send boxloads of loose, bristled toothbrushes into our shops. And the Germans, they exported their toothbrushes which were old. If it is old, definitely the bristles will be coming out of it. And millions of our soldiers got appendicitis. As a result, we are suffering this appendicitis. That was the reply of Nanny. Honestly, Nanny? I cried. Is that honestly true? I never lied to you, child, she answered. So let that be a lesson to you never to use an old toothbrush. Yeah, she said it as if she knew everything. She confirmed it that it is what is happening. Then she said it as a confirmation. Then she told that you should not use old toothbrush. If you use it, you also will be getting this sort of disease. For years after that, I used to get nervous whenever I found a toothbrush bristle on my tongue. So the narrator was very careful not to keep even a single bristle in between his tooth while brushing. As I went upstairs and knocked on the brown door after breakfast, I did not even feel frightened of the matron. Come in, bloomed the voice. I entered the room clutching my stomach on the right hand side and staggering pathetically. What's the matter with you? The matron shouted. It hurts, matron, I moaned. Oh, it hurts so much. Just here. Okay, and I will explain it and move on. For years after that, I used to get nervous whenever I found a toothbrush bristle on my tongue. she was very careful not to keep the toothbrush bristle which has happened to be there inside between the tooth teeth. As I went upstairs and knocked on the brown door after breakfast, I did not even feel frightened of the matron. And you know that there will be hostel wardens if you go, and here there is a hostel warden who is called matron, and he almost know how to pretend. That's why he was not feeling any kind of any sort of dullness or hesitation to ask matron and inform that he is feeling sick. Come in, boomed the voice. Okay, the voice said, it was very rash, and it said, come in. I entered the room, clutching my stomach on the right hand side and staggering pathetically. What's the meaning of staggering? Walking with the difficult as if he was going to fall. And he pretended that he has a stomach pain on this part of the belly, and he said that he was suffering from a sort of pain on his stomach. What's the matter with you? The matron shouted. It hurts, Martin, I moaned, but the boy said, it hurts here. Oh, it hurts so much, just here. He was pointing the place where he has seen his sister was suffering this appendicitis. Have been overeating, she snapped. What do you expect if you gobble cake all day long? And she said, maybe it is because you have been eating for the long days. Okay, and it's out of that only it comes. I haven't eaten a thing for days. I lied. I couldn't eat, matron. I couldn't. And he said he lied. No, I was not eating. For many days I haven't been eating. Get on the bed, she ordered. Then she go and lie down, as we say when you come to the office. When you are feeling sick, you will be coming to the office. So the office staff will be telling that lie down in the similar way she's told, go and lie down on your bed. I lay on the bed and she began prodding my tummy with her fingers. I was watching her carefully, and when she hit what gust was the appendix place, I let out a cry that rattled the window panes. Oh! I cried out. Don't, matron, don't. Then I slipped in the clincher. I've been sick all morning, I moaned, and now there is nothing left to be sick with, but I still feel sick. Oh, this boy cannot talk at all. I lay on the bed and she began prodding my tummy. Prodding meaning is given there, poking or pushing with a pointed object. She was trying to feel where this stomach ache is, and he was just touching. I was watching her carefully. He knows the place where this appendicitis is because he already has seen her sister suffering. And when she hit what I guessed was appendix place, and when she reached the place, this particular spot where the appendix is, I let out a cry so that she will be believing. So he let out a cry and rattled the window panes, and that cry, even it was able to crack the glass of the window. It was so loud. Oh! And he pretended as if he was crying. I cried out, don't, matron, don't touch there, don't pour there, I said. I've been sick. Clincher means I slipped in the clincher. Clincher here, actually the meaning is event only. He was trying to avoid the touch. I've been sick all morning. From morning itself, I had been suffering from this problem. I moaned, I cried, and now there is nothing left to be sick with. But I still feel sick. If it was some other disease, it must have cured, because it was I have been suffering from morning. So I don't know what is happening now. That's what he said. There we stop today. Please read it. Next week I'll be asking questions. Okay, be ready with the questions. The next part we will discuss on the coming week. Thank you.